had a really big problem. I mean, basically we were trying to back up all of our file structure, and with the system that we had in place, which was getting really inadequate for what we had, we were looking at somewhere in the vicinity of a 72+ hour window in order to try to back up all the information we had. And it wasn't that much space, it just took that long. But after we got the Avamar in place, put in the NDMP acceleration, we knocked that down from 72 hours down to 2.
Wow.
I know.
That's 72 hours that's actually longer than a weekend, right?
Yeah, we actually had to wait until like Memorial Day, and then I could finally get a backup.
That's pretty cool. So obviously speed matters to you a lot. You got to get these things done. Where else does speed sort of affect you?
Well, a lot of it is admin time. I mean, most of the time I was taking was spent looking at tapes, trying to get tapes into the system, out of the system, bring it back up, get the tapes initialized and ready to go. I was somewhere in the vicinity of 10 hours a week just putting in tapes to try to get things ready for example, the weekends. But by switching over to the Avamar and doing it all automated, everything going right away, I'm down to about an hour a week now.
Yeah, you got to imagine job satisfaction if you're spending 10 hours manipulating tapes.
Yeah, it wasn't real good.
So that's pretty cool. But I meet a lot of customers who say, sure, it's faster and it's more efficient, but you're probably just throwing money at the problem. So how does that play out for you?
Well, we had to, obviously the initial investment had to go in there, but the more and more that we used it, the more we found that we were getting somewhere around a 99.3% deduplication rate. So we weren't saving nearly any, basically weren't saving any data at all as far as much space is being used. So we were able to really stretch that money and be able to use as much space as possible and actually get a lot out of it.
That's pretty cool. So you mentioned, though, there was that initial investment, which some of the people out here, convincing your company to be willing to invest in backup, that's not always the easiest thing to do. Hey, let's go innovate in the backup space. How'd you pull that off?
Well, a lot of it has to do with the company and the thought of the company. I mean, Sub-Zero is about innovation. When people are talking about innovation within the kitchen, new cooking, new refrigeration, they think Sub-Zero and they think Wolf.
It's a good point, actually, and I mean, I've got a Sub-Zero in my kitchen, and
they're really nice.
Oh yeah, it's cool. I mean, I do kind of wish that I could put magnets on it, but that's okay.
Oh, yeah, I heard that one.
but it does have to be nice for you in one way that you actually work at a place where, frankly, people have heard of you. Because I got to tell you, I try to explain to my parents, my kids, the random people walking down the street, here's what I do at EMC, and they go, oh.
Well, I had a similar problem, actually. I first joined Sub-Zero back in 2000, so I've been there for about 14 years now. But I was, fresh out of college. I had really only had one job prior to it, and I tell you the truth, I had no idea who Sub-Zero and Wolf were. So of course I had just lost a job. I was getting a new job, and I call up my mom, and I'm like, "Hey, Mom, I got a new job. I'm going to be an IT person for Sub-Zero." Her first statement is, "You did not." And like, what's the matter? I just redid my entire kitchen, and now you joined Sub-Zero.
Yeah, I've never had that with my mom. I just bought a new storage system, and now you're at EMC. It never happened to me. That's one of the other areas that's interesting to me, though. I mean, given that Sub-Zero is such a well-known brand, you got so many customers, you are innovating. How about the risk side of this equation, right? I mean, people worry about change because something might break. So how'd that play out?
Well, we've got a rather unique environment. I mean, of our environment, only about 10% of it is actually used up by our ERP system and our IBMI, but that's the heart and soul of the company. Right. So if we don't have that working, we don't have that available, that's a major problem. And with adding the data domain and allowing the VTL ability and backing up our System I right to the data domain, we were able to actually eliminate tapes from that. Plus, then by putting a data domain in our disaster recovery site, we can replicate those across, and we've been able to eliminate even worrying about the off-site backups.
That's pretty cool. So you guys are based in Wisconsin?
Yeah, Madison, Wisconsin.
And then your DR site is?
It's in Goodyear, Arizona, just outside of Phoenix.
So that's a pretty good distance between the two sites.
1,600 miles. We know it well.
You ever have to drive it?
No, thank God.
That's probably a good idea. So all right. So now you got your data. You got your data offsite. You've got your risk down. You've obviously operationally you're a lot more efficient. So I guess the last question is, from the business standpoint now, right? I mean, like you said, Sub-Zero is an innovation company. They're all about redoing how we think of kitchens. What kind of business impact does this have? Can you map that back to what's happening there?
Well, actually, quite a few different things. I mean, for one example, since the backup window was able to be shrunk down so much, we run 24/5. So I mean, we've even actually started to run on weekends. So we need to have the ability to not have our backup window knocking down our manufacturing time. So we were able to, significantly increase the speed as far as that goes. We were able to secure the data a little bit better. I mean, you think about it, we had our tapes in the back room. I mean, anybody could have gone in there, and granted it was a locked room, but you probably could have gotten in if you really, really tried. But it allowed it to be much more secure. It allowed us to be much more agile with the systems, because now we can decide, okay, we have both the data domain and the Avamar. Is it better for backing this up on the Avamar, or is the data domain going to fit the bill a little better? The other problem that we had is that since the technology that we were using was limited in what it could do, we weren't able to do stuff like backing up of virtual machines very well.
Right.
So we were actually doing snapshot-based backups right onto our SAN system, and we were using 30% of our tier 1 storage just to handle backups. So obviously that's a lot of money going to waste.
All right. So that's cool. So you've actually got a mixture of, you got some Avamar for, it sounds like, the VMs.
Yep.
You got the data domain, you're using that with the IBMI and probably some of the other environment. I mean, it sounds like a win-win.